Are there any drummers in the house?
I play percussion.
That's because you couldn't play anything else.
Shut up.
Come here, dude.
Hey, man. Did you touch my drum set?
Nope.
It's just weird, because seems like someone definitely touched my drum set.
Yeah, that is weird. 'Cause I didn't touch them.
I am warning you right now, if you touch my drums, I will stab you in the neck with a knife.
Not quite my tempo. It's all good. No worries. Here we go.
Hey guys, we are on Patreon, so if you want to help support the podcast and the overall Drumheads community, go check us out on Patreon. We've got multiple ways you can contribute to the podcast. So if you want to donate $1, you want to donate $2, you want to donate $5, whatever amount's comfortable with you, every little bit helps. You know, we're trying to make this a bigger and better thing for you guys. We're going to start dropping the podcast part of it and just call it the Drum Heads. So just a little FYI. So this is going to be more of a bigger thing. You know, we're going to try to reach out to more people and things like that. So it just helps the podcast, helps some of the internal costs as well. There's a lot of stuff that goes into making a podcast, surprisingly. So if you could donate whatever you can, like I said, $1, $5, $1,000, $100 million, $1 billion, whatever you got laying around. If you got $1 billion, just, you know, send it my way. We will be sure to put that to good use. But if it's $1 or if it's $5, we'll put that to good use as well. Also, if you want to be like a sponsor of the podcast through Patreon, so if you want to have like a 30-day like feature on Instagram where you want to show off your new drumstick company or your new snare drum company, $50 will get you a whole 30-day. You know, I will repost everything you put on Instagram, so you know, and I'll encourage my followers to go like and follow your page and all that stuff and check you out. And if you want to be on the podcast, so if you're like a new band or you're a young drummer trying to get your name out there, you can also donate $100 and be on the podcast. So it helps the show just continue to grow. So also be sure to go like us on Facebook, go follow us on Twitter, go like us on Instagram, which you probably already are. Subscribe to us on iTunes. You can also find us on Google Play. And also there is an official podcasting landing page that will take you back to all the episodes that we've released. And there's some good ones in there. So if you're new to this, go check it out. iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of it. So again, thank you, and just help continue to grow the Drumheads community. Not Drumheads podcast anymore, just the Drumheads. Because that's what we are. We're all just Drumheads. Talking back and forth, blah, 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 blah. So yes, go check it out, and I would love you forever. Thanks. Hey guys, welcome back to the Drumheads podcast. My name is Daniel, and this is episode 87 with Love Custom Drums. We had Buddy from Love Custom Drums. I learned his last name is not Love. You just like, he's like a persona almost, like, you know, Buddy Love. You know, you've heard his name through the raffle, you know, through other musicians I've had, like Joey Bones uses Love Custom Drums. So it's great to have him on. Super great dude. Just, he's just so chill, just so relaxed, and just so like, yeah, man, I like that attitude. I like that, you know, just kind of go with the flow kind of person. Just, you know, speaks a lot to me, you know, just how relaxed some people are with what they're doing. So if you've not seen Love Custom Drums, they are fantastic looking, sound excellent. If you follow Joey Bones, you hear him on a daily basis because his kit is a Love Customs kit, and his drums were actually kind of he had a red aluminum kit at NAMM, Winter NAMM this year, and it was kind of like one of the big kits that came out of NAMM, and it's actually available. Our previous guest, Ed from Drum Flip, has that kit in his stock. I don't know when you're listening to this if it's still available, but, you know, just go check that kit out. It's such a rad-looking kit. It was red, but it was all aluminum shells. So, you know, it was like 3 rack toms, 2 floor toms, and a kick and snare, all aluminum. Just looked fantastic. It looked like a Ferrari, you know, just high class. And just hearing his story of how him coming up, you know, with the idea, he had a certain drum sound he wanted, and it was easy for him just to make his own drums than to like find it from here and pieces. So he started doing it all himself, and just he's one of the big time players on the Instagram game, and just he's gone places, and he's got a great attitude and a great just persona about him. He, not to sound cliched or pun, but just spreading the love, and he's great at that. He does a lot of giveaways. Like I said, he contributed to the raffle a couple months back. So he's a great dude. So go check him out. Love Custom Drums. And you can, follow them on Instagram, Facebook, all that. And if you want to go check them out, actually go to LCD Custom Drums, which was short for Love Custom Drums. So LCDCustomDrums.com, and you can check out their, the previous kits they've made. They've got some things coming up in the pipeline, so be on the lookout for that as well. And it's just great talking to these custom drum builders who, they're drummers. They're not just some guy who's just like looking to make a quick buck. He's actually in it to help musicians and help them find the sound they're wanting. So it's great to have Buddy on. So go check out all their stuff and follow them on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that. So here it is, episode 87 with Love Custom Drums, Buddy Love. I don't know. I'm not going to sing it. I'm sorry. Buddy Love. Check it out. So hey guys, welcome back to the Drumheads podcast. My name is Daniel, and I am joined by Buddy McRoy, right? McRoy?
McRoy.
Oh, I knew I was going to do it. I knew I was going to do it.
It's all good.
I was like, I overthought it. That's what happened. I overthought it, and then I still said it wrong. I'm like,
you know what? Now everybody's calling me Buddy Love anymore, so it's all good.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions. I'm like, how did the love come into Buddy Love or Love Custom Drums? So maybe we should start there. Oh man, let's start there.
Yeah. It was. I want to say 5th, 6th grade. 6th or 7th grade, maybe a girl that I was dating's father came up with the name. He didn't like me much, and he always called me Buddy Love. And it really stuck. All my friends that stuck around just kind of it just really stuck. And that's what it is now.
Yeah, it does have it's catchy. It is catchy. Buddy Love. It just rolls off the tongue real good. So I don't know. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I think so too.
Yeah.
I've come to like it.
Okay. Were you on the fence about it at first? You're like, I'm not really cool about this Buddy Love thing, or
I didn't like it when I was younger because I guess I wasn't cool enough to rock the Love name. I thought I was too cool to have, the word love associated with anything I was doing at the time. I thought I was like a little punk rock kid, and I was too cool for that. But
yeah,
when I grew up, I really, 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 it fits. I like it. So
my family would call me Danny, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. But like, hey, Danny, I'm like, it's Daniel. But now everyone at my work calls me Danny. I'm like, it's okay. It is. Times change, and you kind of appreciate things differently. So now it's always, hey, Danny. Yeah, I'm like, hey, how are you? So
yeah.
Well, cool.
Yep.
Well, so let's just kind of start at the beginning. And so when did you start playing drums? What's your kind of drumming background?
Well, I started playing bass, and I think it was all the way back in 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be playing bass, and I was getting decent at it, but I'd always be staring at my buddy Mark's drum set, and it turns out he was always staring at my bass guitar, I guess, and to do that, so we kind of switched it up one day, and he showed me a beat, and I was so in love with it. I think I was a better drummer than he was, and this is 6th grade, so this isn't great, but it took me about a week to get past where he was because I didn't leave. I was eating on the kit. It was all set up at my house. My parents were the cool parents that let us have. We had a spare bedroom. They let us set up all of our stuff in there. And
nice.
We ended up switching. He's still a bass player to this day, and I don't touch bass unless I'm in the studio writing a bass line or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't even. He has a couple of my drum sets where he's at, and that's so I can go through, and if I'm playing there, well, at the time, I left a couple TW kits with them, and at the time, if I was going to Reno or Nevada or anything, I would use those kits to play shows. But now, of course, I'm playing Love Custom Drums only now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I'd hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, every once in a while, I'll pull out a snare, like a Craviotto snare or something that Ron Donette's built or something like that. And, I obviously look up to those guys both, and I still pull them out for inspiration every once in a while.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You would pull something out of your arsenal, that has like a special nostalgic value, I guess you could say, but also just, it just inspires you as a musician.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So did you come from a musical family, or they just,
No,
just cool
my mom sang all the time, but no, she was like the majorette in high school. Never. That's about as close to music as she ever got. But I grew up in a family that loved music. They weren't players, but they always were listening to music, and always very, very involved in what's new and what's coming out. And
Well,
so, yeah.
What were some of those first drummers that really popped? That really stood out to you?
Dude, I didn't get inspired by I got inspired by drums. I was actually inspired by singers a lot, and even still to this day, when I put on an album, unless it's something that Chris Dave or Questlove has played on, I'm really not listening to the drums too much. I kind of get inspired by singers. Like I can put on a Tech 9 album and get inspired by one of his vocal runs. And try to incorporate that into a groove or into a fill. I kind of get inspired. I still swear Tech 9's a drummer. I don't know if you're hip with Tech 9 or not, but he does some runs that are like, oh, that was a drum fill, and he just figured out how to put words on it.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, so, totally.
Anyway,
those guys.
Sorry, I get inspired by by different things that some people might not. I get inspired by feel. I get inspired by if I see a great show and the lead singer puts on an amazing show, it inspires me to put on a better show behind the kit. So I get inspired from different areas. I don't get inspired off of the chop guys. I think it's amazing, like Eric Moore and Thomas and all these guys, Thomas Pridgeon, and they're incredibly fast with their hands, and it's like doing math or typing really fast to me. It's super dope.
Yeah.
But I get inspired by grooves and how the kick drum's landing with the bass drum, and I'm not taking anything away from either of those guys, because both those guys groove harder than I do.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they have that in their back pocket. So it's they were just the first two that came to mind, probably because they both live about 40 minutes away from me.
Oh, okay. Well, where are you where are you located?
I'm located in a really small town called Ripon. It's in California. To give people an idea, I'm an hour south of Sacramento and about 45 minutes east from Oakland.
Okay, yeah, because I'm looking at in my kids' playroom. This is where it's like the de facto studio / playroom. They have they have a map of the U.S. and I'm looking at it. And okay, so you're more northern California.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm about 6 hours north from LA if I'm jamming straight there without stopping.
Yeah, totally. And did you grow up in California or?
Yeah, I grew up in I lived in Antioch until I was 5, and then I moved here to Ripon, and I've been here ever since.
Okay, nice. So you're an actual West Coast drummer.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a lot of people who are implants. They grew up in Tennessee, or they grew up somewhere else, and they'll move out to California. But you're actually one of those true California drummers.
Yeah, and I come from a really small like here. There's only a couple of drummers, like maybe a handful, and only really 2 of us that I know of that are still doing it. Most drummers got sick of carrying their stuff and turned into lead singers or guitar players or whatever. My drum set just got smaller and smaller, basically.
Yeah, I hear you. It's once you hit when I hit 30, my body just went straight to crap, and so like I'm like, I've got to just downgrade some of this stuff, and I did, and it's like, simplistic is good. There's times I'm like, oh, I wish I had the big, Carter Beauford kind of setup, but
Oh yeah. I feel you. I don't even use rack toms anymore, man. I use kick drum, floor tom, snare drum. That's it. A hi-hat and 2 crashes. If I feel like setting both crashes up.
Yeah. Well, and you probably know Josh from Drummer's Corner Group. His setup is very simple. He has that open hand concept, and I really dig that as well. I like the open hand stuff too, dude. I like watching players play. I just like watching how different drummers get the job done. Yeah,
I think it's very interesting to me. I just was able to drum tech for Chris Dave for a couple of days on Grammy weekend. Him and Robert Glasper threw something together out there, and it was amazing to watch him play because he, for one, he's just amazing. He's an amazing musician, and it's not even really like watching a drummer play. It's almost equivalent to what Robert's doing on the piano, Chris is doing on the drum set, and it's inspiring. But the open hand stuff he would do back and forth was just blowing my mind. So he's so comfortable on the kit, and his body is, first of all, he plays like the weirdest shit ever that nobody can mimic or imitate ever. And when you see the way he's doing it, it gets even harder. Usually when you see somebody play something, you're like, oh, that's how he's doing it, and then you got it.
Yeah.
When you see Chris do it, it's like, oh, forget about it. I'm going to go practice something else.
Yeah. I've had those moments. Like, are you familiar with Darren King from Mute Math?
Yes.
Okay. Anytime I've seen him, I've seen Mute Math play 3 times live, and every time I'm like, I quit. I'm done. There's no point in me being a drummer. I suck, and let's just move on. Yeah.
This might be why I pull most of my inspiration from bands as a whole, or maybe a lead singer, or if the guitar player is whooping ass over here putting on a great physical live show. You know what I mean? This is where I get my inspiration from.
Well, that
could be why.
That actually makes a ton of sense. You're not being discouraged by these wicked awesome drummers. It's that's cool. So going back to your musical beginnings, did you do any like school band or anything like that, or was it just strictly guitar band or garage band kind of stuff?
It was garage band kind of stuff, man, and it was punk rock, and then I got into ska, and it was punk ska. Suicide Machines kind of. The Suicide Machines was my favorite band for a very long time. Derek Grant, oh my God, I can't say enough about his playing and how much it inspired me as a young drummer. Derek was just killing him, and he still is with Alkaline Trio. He's become one of my favorite rock drummers now.
Oh yeah.
But I went from punk, and then I started playing punk ska, and then I got into some rockabilly stuff, and I was just kind of, at that point, I was getting to the point where I was taking whatever gigs were cool and paying a little bit.
Yeah.
So everyone's made sense. And then I kind of stopped playing for a while, and when I got back into it, it was like the Rage Against the Corn Tones type of Sacramento sound stuff.
Yeah.
I did that for a couple years, and it was fun because it's how I transitioned into loving hip hop so much. Because the beats were so close. The beats that like Abe Cunningham from the Deftones was dropping and stuff really was hip hop beats to me. It's the way I heard them.
Oh yeah.
Now they had bass and guitars all over them, and it ended up being more of a heavy Sacramento sound. But to me, I was listening to hip hop drums, and when I played by myself, that's what it was. So that's how I got to where I am now. And oddly enough, I'm playing hip hop music with a bunch of old punk rock dudes who had the same thing happen to them. So it's kind of a bunch of punk rockers playing hip hop.
Well, that makes sense because I grew up in the time of Korn, back in Follow the Leader and all that. So there was a hip hop vibe to it for sure. And the not so much because people are like, oh, it's it was the rap metal or new metal or whatever they wanted to call it. It was you had people like Ice Cube coming on, Korn songs, and you had
Yeah.
Limp Bizkit. Limp Bizkit was good for like 2 albums, and after that, it was kind of fizzled out. But those 2 albums, they had a lot of great, rap crossbreeding into, and hip hop crossbreeding into the song. So it had a good vibe, and I totally get you when it comes to that hip hop thing as well.
And I'm a minimalist too, and I'm big time into feel, so kick, snare, and hi-hats, man. I've seen guys do so much with those when it comes to I like the drummers who you can't just sit down and sound like. Feel comes into play like crazy. Hand tone, all that stuff comes into play for me. So and basically when I listen to a country song nowadays, you listen to a rock song, all that, Deftones, Korn, all that stuff, you dissect it back enough and you literally, the foundation of it is a hip hop beat.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. But you talking about ska, that brings back memories. I played in a ska band as well, and those were
nice.
Those are some fun. We were called the Carcinogens.
Oh, rad.
So a very ska name, but talk about mixing of different styles of music. You had obviously the reggae element, rock element, and it was such a blast to play. It was so fun.
It is, and I still do it a lot. I was in. Right before I got into, this is a band that I was in before, and we're back together now, Bonus Tracks. But before that, I was in a band called Terrible Timing with a bunch of dudes, and we were doing punk ska and really trying to hit on the reggae stuff because we all, of course, everybody loves reggae too.
Oh yeah.
So I was trying to do it. There's a lot more rules than people think in reggae music, and and what I love playing, what makes me love playing it is that I have to like engage my brain. Like, don't crash on one going back into this verse, just fall into a 1 drop, maybe crash on 3 or on and of 3. Like, it's like thinking about all the rules and trying to do that stuff with all those amazing drums is a blast to me because, like I said, I have to really think about it.
Yeah, totally. And then something about punk rock too is the simplicity of the beat, even though it's aggressive, it's very basic.
Yeah.
And
it is, and it's that might be why I fell so in love with hip hop, because it is basic. It's just sped up and super fast, and there are drummers who do punk rock very well, and there are drummers who do okay, and there's drummers who just suck at it.
Yeah.
But it is really fun to play. And punk rock for me, punk ska ended up being the thing I did the most. So that's autopilot for me.
Yeah. Yeah. The punk band I was in, we were pretty honest about our ability as a punk band because we named ourselves we called ourselves CPR, crappy punk rock. So everybody knew what was going on, and yeah. So high school.
That's good.
You got out of high school. Were you still? How long did you do the whole drumming gig, or was it just kind of on the side, or?
I've always, since I was 16, or maybe it was. Let me see, because I was touring when I was 16, so since I was 14, I think I've played drums almost every single day, whether I was in a band or not in a band. So there was that time I talked about in between bands where I maybe, I was buying a house and getting married and doing all that shit I thought I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
I didn't walk away from the kit. I've always had a kit set up since I was 14, but it would be more like once a week I might get 20 minutes on the kit for those couple years, and nothing like now. Now I'm building them. I'm recording and writing all the time. I have a studio here in my house. My band comes over here to practice at the house once or twice a week, and we're playing every weekend. We have basically from now booked until we start a tour at the end of April, and then we go on a little tour, and so now I'm like, now it's drums all the time. So
Yeah. Well, that kind of let's get into your company. Love Custom Drums. So what year did you officially start making drums?
Oh my goodness. I people ask me that a lot, and I just it was about 8 years ago.
Okay.
I think I want to say about 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And was that out of wanting to do it, or was it just you tired of buying your own shit and trying to repair it and build it and all that?
It was not being able to get what I wanted. And I loved the company that I was playing, and I still do. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of things I don't like about the company, like bearing edges, mm-hmm. the lugs. I wanted tube lugs, and I wanted to try different bearing edges, and that seemed impossible at the time. The only company I think that would do that at the time probably would have been Orange County when they were young. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know enough about them, and I sure as hell didn't have the money to just say, all right, I'm just going to try it. Mm-hmm, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just going to throw $10,000 at a kit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
That's a lot.
Back then shit was just blown so far out of proportion. It was crazy. Mm-hmm. But I just didn't have the money to do it. So I started modifying the drums that I did have. Mm-hmm. And when basically it all spiraled into me wanting a certain kit with certain edges, with a certain finish. Mm-hmm. And I just said, all right, I'm going to do it myself. Mm-hmm. I stumbled across a website that sold everything separate, and I put everything together to see if I could do it. And I really didn't think I was going to be impressed at all with the kit. Mm-hmm. And without sounding super cocky and conceited, it was like my favorite kit that I ever played. And so I was even psyched out for a while, thinking, okay, maybe it's just because I built it. Mm-hmm, so mm-hmm. then I let other people start using it, and then it ended up being like every show you brought it to, people were backlining it and wanting to use it. Mm-hmm. Sound guys were telling me that they loved it. It sounded great, and da-da-da-da. And it just kind of ended up getting to a point where me letting my buddy Ben from Left Alone, he took that kit, and he still has it. Left Alone still has that kit.
Nice. I was about to ask if you still had the kit around.
Yeah, it still functions. They use it all the time on gigs. Like they just played with the Suicide Machines, and they use that kit as the backliner for every band.
Oh, nice.
So it's like it's still happening. And 8 years later, and then I built myself another kit because it was that one I wanted out working to see if it would spark any interest,
Yeah.
And I built myself another one. I played 2 shows with it and sold that, and then I built another one, sold that one at a show. All these kits I was building for myself were just people were making me offers and buying them. So I'm like, man, I was getting like little cheesy badges, laser scribe from the local or the local machine shop, and I decided, I was like, man, I'm gonna do this. Like I'm gonna really do this. So then I sat down and was beating myself to death about a badge because I wanted it to be different. And I didn't know what to do, and that's when I was like, man, I was chilling in my son's room, and I looked up at the wall, and my son wasn't born yet, but I had his room all done, and I was looking up at the wall. I hung my family crest up on the wall, and I was like, man, that's it. I'm gonna take the McRoy off it and do Love Custom Drums, and I'm running with it.
Nice.
It ended up being the most expensive idea I've ever had in my life, but it worked out, and I really, really like that badge. I love that badge. Very happy with it. I'll always use it. So it is my family crest on the drums.
Oh, okay. Well, because I'm looking at your picture, while we're talking, and I'm like trying to figure it out. So the family badge, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's the family crest, and I put Love on it because everyone was calling me Love at the time anyways, so I just rolled with that instead of using McRoy Custom Drums. Doesn't have the same flow to me as Love Custom Drums did, and it was more fitting for everyone in the industry and in the music side of things was already calling me Buddy Love. since the beginning, since I started music, So I think I've been Buddy Love for the last 20 years, So yeah, it's just just was fitting. It just kind of was automatic, you know.
Yeah, that's cool. So have you been doing the making of the drums full time? You know, has that been your full time gig the whole time, or has it been kind of?
It was a transition. I was transitioning out of. I had my own business doing home theater stuff, so I did alarm, central back, all that boring construction crap. And it was kind of, you know, it got to the point where the company was super big in 2014 when everyone was getting hosed on their home loans and all that, and then kind of course, started dying off. So it ended up being just me and one other guy doing custom homes and retros and all that, and then it just kind of got to the point where that was a waste of time and no money was coming in either. So I was fortunate enough to be able to get out when the getting was good and start this company, and it has been full time almost since the beginning. There was a little crossfade there where I was doing both, you know, and it was a hobby, and it just really became something that I could do full time within the last couple years, like when I started doing the NAMM show and all that stuff, is when it started really blossoming into a full company that, like, okay, I can support my family and do what I need to do doing this, you know. Yeah. And I'm still keeping it very, very, very small. It's just it's me doing everything except rolling the metal shells, which is my partner Steve. He and he came into this as a customer as well. It was kind of like, hey, I want to buy a drum set. But the way he did it was super, super slick. He's like, hey, man, I want to buy a drum set, but I want it to be aluminum. And then he threw me all the sizes, and I'm like, gosh, man, I don't know who's going to do it. And he's like, well, I'm going to do it. So I'm like, okay, cool. So he rolls up these shells, and I was like, man, these things are bad, dude. This is going to work. So then I started, you know, hand filing edges and drilled them all out, and then we sent them into powder coat, and it just kind of organically was like, all right, you tell me how much you want for these shells, and I'm going to offer them to my customers. And so he organically kind of became a part of the company that way. Nice. And then now it's, you know, if there was a such thing as a partner to love custom drums, it would be Steve for sure. He does the NAMM show with me. Anytime I call him and say, hey, let's try copper, let's try brass, let's try, you know, bronze, let's do this. It's now become he's now become someone I talk to at least every other day. Oh, okay. You know? Yeah, totally. And I work with him all the time. So,
well, it's funny, you know, in this day and age of social media and everything else that's going on, you know, it seems like you were one of the first ones to really, you know, was making a name for, you know, yourself on like Instagram and stuff like that. You know, because I'm trying to think when I started following you was probably about the same time I started the podcast, and you know, watching your growth, you know, while you know the podcast, you know, gets bigger and whatnot. It was neat seeing all these companies around me just starting to flourish, and you know, I came in.
Oh yeah, dude.
And I came in with no knowledge of anything. I didn't know what a stave drum was, you know. I had no clue. So coming in and like finding out all these, you know, custom shops and stave building and blah blah blah, all of it, you know, it's like, wow, I didn't know shit, you know.
Yeah. You know what? It is such a rad time to be a drummer because there's so many options now and so many boutique companies. You don't have to just play what everyone else is playing. You know, like the bigger companies will drop a drum set, and you go on tour, you're gonna see your drum set again. It might be a different finish if you're lucky, but you're gonna see your kit again. But now, you know, we got Q drums, which are badass, and all the guys over there are amazing people. You got A&F, badass drums. All those guys are just amazing people. You know, SJC's doing crazy, and Mike and Zach and all them guys over there are super cool guys. So now you have these guys involved in these companies who are really, really cool, and we're all doing different things, and it's not a competition at all. Yeah. Like the bigger brands as competing with each other. Now it's like, man, we're all doing different stuff, and you know, we might all be doing brass kits, and we might all be doing, you know, aluminum and all this stuff, but we're doing them very different. You know, they're very different. I think we all have our own style too, and yeah, like it's just an amazing time to be a drummer. There's so many options out there, and like I said, all the companies are cool, and you with social media and all the way the boots are going now, you get to deal directly with the guy who's building. Is amazing to me. If I would have had that at my fingertips back in the day, I would have never even thought about building a drum.
Oh yeah, totally.
Myself, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
so
and like you said, you know, it's not a competition, you know, between these other companies, you know, like you mentioned.
Oh,
you know,
yeah, not at all, dude.
It's all collaborative, you know, and I think it was Josh and I were talking about that. Anytime if someone else succeeds, we all succeed in a certain, you know, at a certain point, you know. Any press is good press, kind of thing, you know. And
absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, and also, you just can't afford to be an ass on social media these days, or the word's gonna get out pretty quick. Like, oh hey, don't waste your time on blah blah blah, you know. And and you can't do that. You know, back in the day, you could be a dick and get away with it. Now it's a little bit harder.
Yeah, it is, and it's kind of nice because there's this industry has a natural way of you know, weeding those people out quickly and them dropping off and not being able to survive in this wonderful environment, if you will. There's no and music in general is going that way. Music is there's just no room for negativity in music anymore, and it's not cool to be negative. People are waking up and realizing, like man, we're stronger together, and music is supposed to unite people, and it's kind of what it's doing in the music industry too. Because that being said, all these guys building play now. It's not a bunch of dudes in suits that are like, hey, I want to be a race to the bottom and make the cheapest drum set I could possibly charge less than the next guy for it and make 1 million of those and make. Now it's guys that are going, dude, what would work on the road for me? That's what I'm going to put out. Something that's not going to fail. And, you know, and we have passionate people building drums that are musicians now.
Yeah, totally.
So that's huge.
Yeah. That was something that, you know, the podcast I recorded for this one was with Chris Hornbrook, and he was talking about the same thing, you know. The musicians and like the people who distribute the music are almost in like hand in hand working with each other instead of against each other. Yeah,
and by the way, people like Chris fall right into what I was talking about, because he always stops by the booth at NAMM. I didn't know him until I met him at NAMM, and he's like, you know, he's just the raddest guy, and it's like, hey, when are you going to be around? We're doing San Francisco this day, and he, like you said, everything's digital, all this social media stuff. He pulls up his phones. Yeah, I'm going to be here this day and this day. If you guys want to come, dude, just please call me and let me know. You know, I'd love to hang out. And he's a great example of the way the music industry is. Now, there are still some dicks out there. They're probably mostly lead singers or something like that. But drummers are rad people now. Yeah. They had a reputation there in the 70s and stuff for being kind of the crazy one in the band or whatever. But drummers it's just changing, man. Things are changing from when I was a kid, and I really like the way things are going.
Yeah, it's one of few things that is changing for the good, you know, in the world. Yeah. There's a lot of things that, you know, are changing for the bad. You're like, ugh. And now, you know, this is one thing I can count on being good. And and it's never a drag. Like, I've never done a podcast from like, ugh, why did I do that? You know, everyone I've done has been such a great thing, a great conversation, and you know, I'm like, this is gonna contribute in some way to somebody, you know, and that's how I look at it, you know. But it's a good time. So with, you know, talking about social media, you know, the great thing is you can have eyes on your, you know, your gear pretty much every day if it's given into the right person, like a Joey Bones, for example. You know?
Oh yeah, I love Joey. Man, there's another example of just a great human being, dude.
Yeah, and he just he takes the time to comment on other people's stuff. He's super involved, and he's just a regular guy like me. This is not his full-time job, and he just puts up videos of him playing, and good, the bad, and the ugly kind of attitude, and people really respond to it, and yeah.
Yeah, he's such a likable dude. Man, I don't know. I love Joe. I do. I love him. Hanging out with him at NAMM was so great. Mm-hmm. Just getting to know someone that you fall in love with them on social media, and you can just tell they're a great person, and then you meet them and they're even better than you thought.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Like it's just like, oh my god, dude, how rad. Mm-hmm. He's a great guy. I love Joey, man.
And I remember when you gave away that kit that he plays. And when I saw who won it, I'm like, there's the perfect person right there. I remember.
Yeah, it really was, man. It's kind of how he was able to win a kit for free, play it, and then it kind of organically just evolved into him being a part of Love Custom Drums. Mm-hmm. He's someone that I was already talking to my wife about going after anyway. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. If I'm being perfectly honest, I was already like, man, Joey is this guy. I want this guy to be involved, with the company. And after that happened, I was like, are you serious? I hope he likes the kid and doesn't sell it. That would be amazing, And it ended up being just really, really for the kid and to be part of the family, and it just worked out great. It couldn't have worked out any better. Oh yeah. And like I always say, everyone who, if you play a Love Custom Drum set, you are part of the family. Mm-hmm. And there's some people who are part of the family who don't even play drums, But that's what I'm saying. If anybody trusts me enough to build them a kit and spend that kind of money with me, they are family and they are treated as such, Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Totally. But yeah, I remember saying the same thing to my wife. I'm like, she's like, who won that kit? And I said, it's this guy. And I said, he is the guy that should have won it, in my opinion. She's like, that's cool, And
well, you want to know something crazy too, man? I don't know, with the Instagram giveaways. Mm-hmm. I've done a couple of them, and not that many people involved. I don't know if they're scared, if they're. The chances of winning that kit were super high. The odds.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Because there was not a ton of people that did. Mm-hmm. So, and the way we picked is we went to the hashtag, swiped down and swiped up, swiped down, and clicked on one, and it, mm-hmm. that's how we did it. And I'm like, dude, there's not people that are doing this. So
it's
I don't know. I guess. What I'm saying is, next time someone does one of these giveaways, man, get involved because it's real.
Yeah, it's real. It's not a joke. I think when I had Joey on the podcast, he's like, no, this was like totally a surprise. I think he might have mentioned, I can't remember if I'm misspeaking or not, but something of the lines of like, oh, it was just given to me because I had somewhat of a name for me. He's like, no, it was totally random. So yeah.
I think he was accused of that from a couple people, and I every time I do one, I'm accused of it, and it's just the way it goes, my buddy Daniel, he was calling me going, dude, people are all over me, and I'm like, why? He's like, well, I did a giveaway, and it was a giveaway with a bunch of companies, and I had a snare in it too, and this is Daniel from Sovereign Cymbals, and the person who won was related to him. It was his cousin, and he's like, dude. Well, he won. Yeah. I was like, well, what he won. Yeah. But yeah, he got the third degree. But we all do, Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. People are mad that they didn't get something for free.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
No, just be happy for the dude that did, man, and your time will come.
It will come. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to your drums, do you, when you try to get in the frame of mind to build the drum, do you try to like understand the person you're building it and trying to figure out?
Dude, so much so that it goes beyond taking the time to talk to them about bearing edges and what the drum needs to do and what kind of music do you play. Okay, this edge would be better for that, or maybe they need a fat sounding snare, but they need it to be responsive in like the ghost note area, and they're going to tune it mid range. So we'll talk about doing a bigger, more surface contact area edge on top, like maybe a baseball bat round over or some kind of round over 45 combo, but do a sharp bottom because they need the sensitivity there on the drum. Or and it even goes to that. Maybe these guys should be using metal drums instead of wood drums or whatever. So we really dig in and figure out what the drum needs to do, and then once that's done, when I'm building the drums, if these people are in bands, if they have anything recorded that I can buy, like on iTunes or whatever, I'll get it and I'll listen to it the whole time I'm building this thing. And it really, I don't know, it just, for me, it just kind of is cool to know where this drum's going and to be listening to the guy playing drums who's going to be playing it. It just is, it's become kind of a tradition. If the music's available or if they have anything they can send me, I like to listen to their stuff while I'm building their drum.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it comes across in the the drum itself, because if you're listening to him, it's like, wow, the guy has a really poppy snare sound.
Yeah.
This is what will make the snare drum pop versus this technique or whatnot.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
And so, when you put on heads now, do you have like a preferred company you use to put the heads on drums, or do you cater it to the person that's buying the kit?
I cater to the person buying the kit. So if someone requests a specific drum head for me, if someone has to have Remo, then they can get Remo. Or in some cases, I deal with guys, my players, like Michael plays metal stuff, and he's sponsored by Remo, so he has Remo heads, and I just send him the shells. All put together and done. He slaps his own heads on it, and there you go. Yeah. I use Evans drum heads with Love Custom Drums, but if the player requests something else, I mean, I'm a boutique shop, of course I'm going to do it. But if they don't ask, they're great Evans.
Okay.
And that's all. I played Remo for years, but sometimes when you go to for me, it all comes down to the people I meet and my interaction with them, and the handshakes and the interest from Evans. It just felt like the best fit for Love Custom Drums. So that's who I went with. That's who I set an account up with, and the people there, they treat me so good, and it just it was the right fit. For sure.
Yeah. And and if it's something you use personally, that helps as well. Because their sound, and what because I'm an Evans user, and like I know an ST dry is gonna sound good on a brass snare versus a wood snare or something like that.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, everybody that gets a kit from me with Evans on it, if they're a Remo guy and they're like, okay, well, I play coated ambassadors, I'm like, okay, well, then I'll throw a G1 coated on there for you. Yeah. I'm real familiar with both companies and what they do, and most people stick with Evans after they play them, and it's not to take anything away from Remo, because I do like the Remo heads, but with the 360 technology and everything that Evans has going on right now, as a drum builder, I will say it's really, really nice to throw a drum head that seats right on the edge, and when you just get it to finger tightening and it already has a great tone.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's more of pulling tension where you want it, because you can tune an Evans head finger tight and go around the head and get it in tune, and then it's literally like quarter turn. You just bring it up to where you want it or drop it to it, and it's so much easier as a builder for me to work with an Evans head.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, I'm not taking anything away from Remo or whatever, but and those are the only two companies that I've ever used, so those are the only ones I'm going to talk about right now. But,
I hear you.
I went to, I'll put it like this. I went to NAMM. I had Remo on every single drum there. And it's what I used because my local shop, Skip's Music, they always had what I needed in stock from the Remo brand. They didn't have as much Evans on their shelf is what I mean. I don't know if it was selling or they just couldn't keep it in, or if they just didn't do as much business with Evans or whatever. But when I have 4 guys from Evans come down and shake my hand and talk about how much they like the drums and just the vibe was there, you know? So And it's been nothing but a complete pleasure working with Evans for the last 2 years.
Nice. Well, it's always good to hear that, like, you know, a company like Evans, which is huge. It's not a small company by any, you know, stretch of the imagination, is working with everybody, you know, from every level, which is always great to hear.
Bro, the guys at Evans are so knowledgeable, man. Like, let me give you a quick example. We were in my booth, and the first guy that came down from Evans and shook my hand and said, "Hey, you know, we'd like to work with you, and if you want to, this is my card. You know, hit me up." He grabbed a set of sticks that I was having made for myself. I was having custom sticks made, and he plays them, and he goes, "Oh man, those are your sticks. Those feel pretty good. You should check out the Anton Fig stick." And I'm like, let me check it out. And dude, when I grabbed it, it's hilarious that he said that and that he knew that fast, because it was the exact same stick that I was designing, paying more to have made, and had no clue that there was already a stick out there that would cost me even less.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? It was just unbelievable when I played it. I'm not kidding you. He nailed it. It was a 595 diameter. It had almost no taper, just right all the way down to the end. So it was a very forward heavy stick, and it had just the round ball tip on it. And I mean, this stick is identical, but just him grabbing them, you know, and hitting the pad for 2 seconds and putting them down and said, "Oh, those are cool. You should check out the Anton Figs." I was like, "Oh my, this guy's like a sorcerer, man. Holy crap."
Yeah. It's like,
it blew my mind that they knew that much, you know?
Like, you guys got a camera?
So once again, I knew right away that I was dealing with the drummer.
Oh, yeah.
And that was great for me, you know?
Totally.
So.
Yeah.
There's my
Yeah. Well, and, you know, speaking of NAMM, you know, I remember your kit was like the talk of, you know, of NAMM, it seemed like. I remember, you know, seeing a bunch of drummers I follow on Instagram and stuff like that, you know, reposting them playing the kit, you know, all these drummers just swinging by your booth and checking out that red aluminum kit you had.
Yeah, that red kit. Hey, man, I almost didn't bring that one to NAMM.
Oh.
It's just, you know, the big, huge drum set thing, and it wasn't my, it's just not my style, but I think I'm good at doing my homework, and I'm good about kind of knowing what other drummers play. I'm very, very open-minded, and I still like to, even though I'm into really small kit and you know, hip hop and all that stuff, I still follow everything else. I go to Warped Tour every single year still, and I'm still trying to stay as plugged in as I can, because I want to know what everybody's using and what they're playing and how they're tuning, and you know what I mean? I don't want to miss anything and be stuck or pigeonholed ever. So I you know, I was like, no, I'm gonna do it. This kit sounds super cool. I'm gonna do it. I need to bring aluminum anyways, you know. So I ended up bringing that one. Yeah, everybody was, I guess it was just eye-catching enough. People would walk up and hit it, and then once they hit it, it was on after that. That kid almost got me in so much trouble with the NAMM police. Crazy.
Did it really? I can imagine. You know, trying to keep the volume down.
And then like Eric Moore came in and smashed on it, and that was the first day, and that got the attention from the sound police too. And man, it was great. It was great to hear what the kit could do with someone like Eric on it. It was amazing. And then you know, that kind of started the attention. People heard it, came over, and Eric Moore just brought a huge crowd with him.
Oh yeah, totally.
You know, everybody loves that dude, and he came over and you know, he sat down for about as long that's on Instagram on my page. That's about all he did when he sat down. And from then on, dude, I couldn't keep him off the kit. Sound police kept coming by and looking at it, and it worked out great. But I almost didn't bring that kit.
Yeah, and it's funny because now that kit, you can buy it at Flip Drum, or Drum Flip, sorry.
Yeah, Drum Flip, super rad. And that's another thing. There's stores popping up like Drum Flip. They're very knowledgeable people now that are just moving drums out of the shop. So you're not talking to a guy who's just there really to sell some Diodario guitar strings to you about a snare head or, hey, I want my drum to sound, a little bit more dry, or what should I do if I'm going to the studio and it's this kind of gig. You can go to a place like Drum Flip, and someone who's very knowledgeable about drums is going to help you and know what you need. Oh yeah, yeah. Instead of like dude, and I'll say this because I'm never gonna be in Guitar Center ever. I've called Guitar Center before and asked them, like, because I get frustrated, and I'm building the kit and like, what the hell's going on? I just ran out of like 2.5, I like tension rods. I need to get some tension rods. So I call the local Guitar Center and I'll ask them like, hey dude, do you know what a tension rod is? I'll ask for the drum department. Then I'll go to, hey drum department. Do you know hey bro, you know what a tension rod is? No. Yeah. I'm like, goodbye. Come on. So yes, places like Drum Flip are popping up all over the place. And like I said, another passionate drummer who's passionate about music, who's very knowledgeable and you know what I mean? Stays plugged in and knows what people want. You have people like that, and it's just rad. Yeah. So yeah, go if you live in the Ventura or LA area, go check that out. Yeah. And it's a sick shop.
He's like, I have to have that kit. I'm like, all right. Yeah. All right, God bless.
That's basically what he said when he got a hold of my buddy Carlos.
I was about to ask you about Carlos. I'm trying to figure the Carlos equation, but anyways, sorry.
Yeah, Carlos. I met him at NAMM 2016, and man, he's just turned into a really, really great friend. His wife and my wife are super great friends now. It's crazy. It's the people you meet now in this industry. It's amazing, dude. The people are great. So Carlos, man, does he ever go to bat for me? And he's one of those guys that I've even told him, like, man, thank you so much. Like, I appreciate everything you're doing for me. And he's like, hey, dude, if I believe in something, I go 100% on it. And that's what he's doing. He doesn't have to do this kind of stuff, but he really does. I mean, he's a heavy hitter for Love Custom Drums. He goes to bat for me all the time. And he actually bought the first kit that got all the attention. My first NAMM show was the stainless steel kit that I did, and he owns that kit. So not to mention, I think he buys about a snare every 2 weeks from me or something like that.
That's awesome.
He's such a rad guy, man. I love him too. And he's the one who got in contact with Drum Flip somehow. I'm not sure who reached out to who. I think maybe he posted it and Drum Flip reached out to him. Yeah. And he's the one who put the whole thing together and called me and was like, yo, it's going here. I was like, cool, let's do it.
All right. That's so great to hear that, it's just, it all comes back 360, and it's a fun time being a drummer.
It is. I can't. It really, really is.
I can't tell every young drummer I talk to, what's the advice you can give me? I'm like, you are living in the best time ever as a drummer. Yeah. Like, when I was in school, there was no YouTube. We had VHS tapes, so if you wanted to watch a drum solo or a drum video of anybody, you had to find the VHS tape or the DVD, which was later. You didn't have the whole entire musical library of everybody on iTunes. You had to track it in music stores. And the ability for me to actually just, talk to you, even if it's through a Skype call or if it's on, Instagram or something like that, the personability between the drum maker and the player is so easy,
Yeah. Yep.
and take advantage of it.
Crazy.
It's like, if you're not, then I don't know. There's no help for you. Sorry.
Yeah, we live in a time where if someone wants to make it as a musician, they just have to be willing to do it.
Yeah.
If someone's capable of helping themselves, and they're motivated and determined, they can do it. All the tools are there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same for builders and company owners. It's all this stuff helps. My number one source of advertisement and all of my sales, literally almost all of them, are coming from Instagram or people that I've met on Instagram that are repping my stuff and pushing it out there to people. And that's, it really is. Instagram has been such a huge platform for me, and everyone's been so rad on there. And that's cool.
I think
I haven't come across too many haters,
Well, I think why
it's been cool.
Yeah, and I think why that is because people get on Instagram. It's hard to get political on Instagram. It's hard to get pretty much if it's you're putting up pictures of video. Where like Facebook, it's always text or you're sharing some article about how you hate blah 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 or this blah blah blah. Where now it's just drums, and people if they're wanting to sign drum stuff, they're gonna find it really easily on Instagram versus Facebook. It's a little more challenging. So
yeah, Facebook seems to be more like I have a Facebook, and it's where I post pictures of my family and stuff. And
totally.
And I basically got the Facebook because Love Custom Drums ended up being, the account was Buddy Love at first, and it was just kind of me building and me playing, and sometimes my kids would be on there or whatever. But I once I decided Love Custom Drums was going to be a company and all that, I switched it over, and I opened a Facebook just to post those pictures, once or twice a year of my kids. Or, So anyways, Instagram was always a drum thing for me. And Instagram, the way I got into Instagram was my wife would be like looking at Instagram because she had it, and she'd be like, "Oh, do you know this drummer?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, man, that's Derek from Alkaline Trio, but that's back a picture of him back in the Suicide Machines. Where in the hell did you find that?" And she's like, "Oh, right here on Instagram. Someone else that I follow just posted it and said it was his favorite drummer." And I'm like, "You kidding me?" So I started looking up my favorite drummers on her phone. And it wasn't like an hour later, I'm like, "Oh, dude, I'm making an Instagram. This is amazing."
Yeah. It's a fun. I actually created the Instagram account for my thing before I had a podcast. I'm like, let's just go ahead and do this.
Oh, cool.
And make sure it's not taken. And then I'm like, okay, maybe this is a better route.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I guess before we wrap up, I always like to ask this question: what do you like to do as a hobby outside of music and drums and all that? Or do you have one?
Ooh, outside of that?
Yeah. And
man, you know what?
If you don't, it's cool.
No, I do. I have so many things that I do. I used to, like I said, I live in the middle of nowhere, so riding our dirt bikes was huge out here, and I still try to go 2 or 3 times a year. There was a point in that time I told you when I wasn't playing much drums, it was literally like 3 or 4 times a week I was in the mountains riding my bike.
Oh, nice.
On a like 2 or 3 night stay up in the mountains,
Nice.
The camping trailer or whatever, and I was big time into that. I because of drums. My family is my number one thing. And
yeah.
I tie that in with all the drums I do. They're coming on me in my whole tour. They come with me to every single NAMM show.
Nice.
I go to Disneyland. I meet them after the NAMM show. After 6, I go over there and have dinner with them and ride rides. So my family is I'm a family man first and foremost, and they're very involved in the company with me, and they go everywhere with me. So I guess my hobby would be kicking it with my family,
Yeah, I hear it. I mean, that's why I started the podcast was, one, I had a back injury, so I couldn't play drums as much, but I wanted to stay connected. And second was, I can organize podcasts and stuff, you know, and still have a lot of family time, you know, as well. It's, you know, it works out great.
Yeah,
That's
awesome, man.
That's how I look at it. You know, it's not taking away from family time. You know, it's something I can do to still be connected and, you know, just like, you know, just spread the love, I guess you could say. No pun intended.
Absolutely. I say that all the time.
Yeah. That's good. That's good that you've adopted that and, you know, be like, ugh, you know, but
yeah.
But so what's in the future for you? You know, what's in the works for Love Custom Drums?
Oh man, in the next week, so much. Let me just tell you so much. I'm working. You know, me and Chris Dave are working on some stuff, and there's a couple other people involved in some of that stuff, which is very, very exciting to be able to work with my favorite drummer and the person in music who inspires me the most is kind of organically drawn to what I'm doing, you know, is amazing. You know, meeting someone like that and it just working out is very cool.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I'm just thrilled about that. So I have stuff. It's gonna be premiering soon with him. Something I could definitely tell you right now is we have our. I always say we. It's basically me and Steve, and then like my wife. Hey babe, will this lug look cool on the show? Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we have the Elite Series coming out, which is copper and brass kits. They've been done for a while. They were done before NAMM. Didn't want to bring them to NAMM because a lot of people were doing copper and brass. They're definitely not doing them the way we are. Ours are everything I put out here has to be bulletproof. It has to be a guitar player throwing it into the back of a trailer proof. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Road ready.
Road ready, man. This thing's got to be able to fall off the truck and still perform at the show that night. So these brass and copper kits are very tough, and they're very Love Custom Drums style, and I'm super stoked on them. They sound and feel so good.
Nice.
So I'm really excited on that. Those will be dropping in the next couple weeks here.
Cool.
And yeah, we're just going to call those the Elite kits, and they'll be available in copper and brass for now.
Nice. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Are you going to be going to Summer NAMM by any chance?
I might go. I will have some gear there. And Daniel from Sovereign Symbols booth.
Yeah.
If I go, it's going to be to hang out. I won't be doing a booth. I'm kind of gearing up to go bigger next year at Winter NAMM.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going to put all my focus, and then I'll probably start doing the Chicago Drum Show.
Yeah, I've heard that.
2018.
I've heard that one's a good one to get involved with. I'm going to Summer NAMM this year because you know where I live in Nashville is about a 5.5 hour drive. So
okay.
Yeah. No plane ticket.
That's about how far Winter NAMM is for me. Yeah.
Yeah. No plane ticket. You can do it in a car.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, cool, man.
I have one more thing coming out that I want to touch on real quick.
Okay, sure.
You guys know Sweet Spot clutches, right? We are working on something, and it's not a clutch. I'll say that much right now. But I am so stoked about it.
Nice.
Like I am just so stoked. It's gonna be just straight fire, man. It's gonna be cool.
That's awesome.
So we're collabing on some stuff, and that's gonna be dope.
That's gonna be cool. Well, nice little tease to for
yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, I really appreciate you being on, and you're always more than welcome to be on the podcast anytime.
Oh man, right on.
Yeah.
Right on. We should do one with everybody. We should get A and F and everybody on. That would be great.
That would be great. I wish there was a way, you know, I could do like a live podcast with like all these great companies that, you know, that have been a part of, you know, being on the podcast and doing the raffle and all of that. It would be awesome to do like a live show.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how I could do it.
We should, man.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. Maybe we can even get like a couple of dudes a couple of kids together at one play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just try to kind of get, I don't know, or maybe one day we'll all be able to sit down at a table and do it. Just the ultimate podcast.
Yeah, I know. Just have like one condenser mic just hanging above the table and just hear everybody just talk.
Yeah. One thing I could say would be really fun is if we did it from NAM. If we did a podcast from NAM, because it would be like, man, Joey Bones will be there for sure. I guarantee you that. Carlos will be there. Steve will be. I mean,
yeah. I'm hoping to get out.
Who knows who could show up for that?
Yeah, I'm really hoping to get out to the winter one. I've had some things come into favor financially. My boss is gone. Thank God.
Okay.
Yeah, the one that was causing me so much grief is now gone. So I'm hoping things will start to get back to normal.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well,
well, if you need a pass or whatever, definitely let me know. I got you on. I'm sure you have a million people that'll get you into NAM, but just let me know if you need one.
All right,
I'll glad to.
I will. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and hit stop real quick. So, but yeah,
cool.
Thank you again for being on. So let me just hit the end of the recording.
Yep.
Are we done?